Today's podcast is being sponsored by a project that we at Power Monkey have been working on for a while and are incredibly excited about. If you've ever wanted to attend Power Monkey Camp with some of the world's best athletes and coaches, here is your chance. On January 1st, we're bringing Power Monkey Camp to your living room with Power Monkey Camp Online. Online campers have access to over 22 hours of station lectures featuring our elite coaching roster of Olympians, national champions, world record holders in their respective fields. This course is for everyone, beginners, seasoned athletes, coaches, and even fitness enthusiasts. We're offering you an incredible opportunity to learn from some of the top coaches in gymnastics, Olympic weightlifting, aerobic capacity, rowing, jump rope, kettlebell training, as well as doing some lectures on programming methodologies, nutrition, injury prevention, and even on mindset training. Additionally, Power Monkey Camp Online will provide continuing education credits for NASM, AFA, CrossFit, and others, and serve as your first step in becoming a Power Monkey Fitness Master Trainer. Registration is open now, but will close at the end of February. Go to academy.powermonkeyfitness.com to find out more. Hey everyone, welcome to another Power Monkey podcast. On today's episode, Chad and I interview Rebecca Kennedy. Rebecca is a lifelong athlete coming from the gymnastics and dance world and now heading up the tread program for Peloton. She's New York based, has an incredible background over a number of years working in a variety of different areas of the fitness world. She's also been to our Power Monkey camp a few times, so she knows us as a Power Monkey entity really well. And it's really interesting to hear kind of her background going from gymnastics and dance and now working in such a space, online fitness, Peloton, crushing that industry right now, and her being at the forefront and kind of leading that tread program. Really interesting to see where she's going next, where she sees the fitness industry, and some really helpful tips in becoming a better athlete. Hope you enjoy it. All right, well, hey Rebecca, how are you? Thanks for jumping on with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm great. I am very excited to be on the Power Monkey podcast, baby.
Yes. So where are you calling in from? Where are you based? Normally in New York, but tell us where you're at.
I am out in Brooklyn. I just moved back outside of Manhattan and happily in Williamsburg. So, living the suburban city life now.
Suburban. So Williamsburg is now the suburbs. I love it. You moved from Manhattan, now Brooklyn is considered the suburbs. Wow. Times are changing.
One step at a time,
Yeah. So you're enjoying it out there? Things with the crazy summer and now crazy fall have allowed you to feel like some semblance of normalcy out there?
Yeah, it feels really safe first and foremost, and it feels somewhat normal in the fact that like everything is still generally open. It's a little bit different, like kind of probably like it is everywhere, like outdoor dining versus going into your favorite restaurant. I've learned that if you want to go see a stand-up comedy show at night, you need to take hand warmers with you and multiple layers. But yeah, everything feels normal pretty much.
That's good. I was mentioning, sometimes when you see stuff on the media, it's a little bit skewed as to how someone is actually living in that location. So I always like to talk about people who are actually on the ground living and saying, oh, daily life is slightly different than what you might see. So it's good to hear that my second home, New York, is still doing well.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll get into your current role as being a badass with Peloton and talk about what that actual role is. But I want to talk a little bit about your background and how you actually got to that point. I was talking to my wife, Sadie, today, and obviously you and Sadie have some history together, but could you go a little bit into the background on your fitness in general, what you did growing up, and what took you to New York, and kind of how it eventually turned into the role that you have now?
Yeah, totally. As far back as I can remember, I started gymnastics when I was 3. I also started dancing back then as well. And I continued to compete with USA Gymnastics through level 10. So throughout high school, joined my high school gymnastics team. You know how it is, like you can't have really multiple focuses, or foci, I guess would be the word, when you're pursuing something on a professional level. So I stopped dancing for a significant period of time. And then when I actually went to college, I had made the decision that I wanted to have some sort of like normalcy in my life outside of sport, to have a different definition of who I was and find out another part of me. So I decided not to pursue gymnastics in college, but 1 year in to my freshman year, I was like, I'm missing sport. I'm missing team work. I'm missing that camaraderie. I'm missing like having goals to set and a specific way to like approach that. So I ended up leaving the school that I was at, which was UConn, to go get my bachelor's degree in dance because I still loved it so much. And in that program, they introduced you to a lot of people. I met so many different choreographers and like knew that New York was a hub. And so I applied for the Alvin Ailey scholarship and Broadway Dance Center's internship. And I got into both of them, which was really, really rad, but I wanted to pursue commercial dance. And I thought New York I'd have a bigger opportunity in terms of like career and what would be, available to me. So I went that direction and started dancing with an agency in New York. Fast forward a couple of years, I got signed with a fitness modeling agency. And throughout this whole time, I knew that to be on the cutting edge and to have that, like, step ahead of other dancers at the time when I was, doing that full time, being fit and being able to throw tricks and be strong and have the endurance to like out dance everybody, I kept going to the gym, and I ended up getting, I was a broke dancer, kind of like everyone's start here. And I was like, where can I work out for free? I got hired by this guy. He was like, yeah, you can be my assistant at this like big box gym at the time. There were like no boutique fitness studios. And I was supposed to be his like quote unquote accountant in a sense. And I'm terrible at that. Like I sold myself pretty high, but I underperformed there. He was like, but I see you taking all my classes and I think you should go get certified to become an instructor. So I did that. That was back in 2008. And the day that I got certified, he was like, cool, tomorrow you have your first class. I was like, okay, throw me into the lion's den. But I did it. And it was the shittiest class I ever taught. Am I allowed to swear on here? I'm so sorry.
Sure.
Okay, sorry about that, kids. I taught probably one of the worst classes of my life, which is always like your first class. And I realized that it was something that I enjoyed doing. I absolutely loved it. It blended my passion for fitness and to perform in some sort of sense. So I wanted to get good at that. I kept getting different certifications and teaching as many classes as possible. And eventually fitness cannibalized my dance career because I kept booking more fitness work through that agency. And so I was like, there had to become a moment for me of this, like, come to Jesus. It's either, Robert Frost, two paths. And I chose fitness. It felt like home to me. It felt like I had found my purpose. And that's where I really started putting like pedal to the metal and going like all out. I got rid of all of my other extracurricular paying jobs to put myself put a fire under my butt really and see what I could do. I started teaching for different like rogue boot camps that would go out to the park and different organizations and teach, after work hours in their conference rooms. And I started personal training, and it took a long time. I mean, we're talking over the course of 12 years now of teaching and training. And I was at Barry's boot camp for 6 years. I was at a Nike Master Trainer for 6 years. And during that tenure, I had met John Foley and Jill Foley, or John Foley is obviously the CEO of Peloton, who took my classes all the time. So when the time came for Peloton Tread to come, be developed, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and I got courted for a little while. And that's kind of how I became a Peloton instructor, but also the director for it. And it was back when I was dancing when I met Sadie.
Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty extensive history, right? From starting out in dance, and before we gloss over too much, Chad, where her origins are in gymnastics, and so we have to bring that part up. 3 years old.
Didn't want to bring that up.
And again, I'm not doing the bookings here, but for whatever reason, great people start with gymnastics, and it's just the way that it is. Not weightlifting.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a long conversation with Jordan, I think.
So the gymnastics background leading into what's that?
That's the first question Jordan asked me. He said, "Did you do gymnastics?"
Right. So I write up the
Of
questions for
course,
Jordan.
of course. It's a prerequisite to come on this podcast. You had to have done gymnastics in your previous life.
But
Yeah.
that's an incredible background in terms of being capable and prepared and ready to go once that call came to be Peloton tread instructor and the director of it. So obviously most people know Peloton for the bike, getting on the bike, doing those incredible sessions, but you guys have really expanded pretty exponentially into a lot of different areas, and you kind of lead up a new area of that. Can you talk specifically about what Peloton Tread is, and then also what your role is? Just elaborate a little bit more on that specific portion of
Yeah,
it.
sure. Something I love talking about it. So Peloton Tread initially started off being under one umbrella, the tread itself, which encompassed running, walking, boot camp, and strength. And in the last year, we broke it out into 2 separate modalities. So my role is actually technically the director of strength, but I also am the director of tread right now. So I do both as well as instruct. And so, yeah, we have a treadmill, which is kick-ass. There's a screen on the front of it, just like the bike. So you'd actually watch an instructor guide you through a hit run, an intervals run, a progression run, a boot camp. It could be a full body approach. It could be beginner, intermediate, advanced. So we have literally, God, at this point, we've developed so many different lines of programming for every walk of life because we have over 3 million members at this point, which,
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. All the entry points into fitness are so incredibly different and equally important. So we are training people for their 10th marathon, and we're also training people from the ground up on the fundamentals and building blocks of what a strength program looks like. So I feel really lucky and blessed that I actually get to improve people's lives from giving them a relationship with their body and teaching them that strength directly correlates to inner strength as well. I think that's the really unique thing that Peloton does is we're not just here to teach you individual classes, but we're here to actually help connect the mind, body, spirit connection at the same time. A lot of storytelling. That's why we have so many different instructors with different experiences. I mean, you name it, like from music selections to just like my terrible dad jokes to like, anything you need under the sun. So yeah, we're doing a ton of different things right now. We just released our first, we did dance cardio in the early spring. And we just released our first bar program, which people are loving. We have so many things coming up too, which is really exciting. Always innovating.
That's amazing. Obviously, it's such an incredible product, an incredible way to train. But pandemic specifically has been a boon for what you guys are doing. People are home, bikes are being bought like crazy, treads are being bought like crazy, and you guys have the opportunity to actually connect with people that are normally used to connecting with their trainers in person, in a gym setting, in a class setting, and you have the means to be able to do it better than most in terms of how they connect at home. Do you feel that, coming from a background where you're used to training groups and individuals in a setting that is more personal, that you're able to get across some connection to the user through the screen? How do you feel it's similar? How do you feel it's different than what you're normally used to doing?
Yeah, the biggest difference was when I first joined Peloton, actually. So it's been 3 years of being able to identify and capture that connection. So breaking through the fourth wall. It took me a little while because I'm not seeing everybody's form. I'm not hearing the cheering going on or any sort of like laughing or feedback from like whatever's happening. So I did have some experience with that leading up to the pandemic because we have always taught classes with people in the studio and classes without people in the studio.
Right.
So then, obviously this happens and it's only coaching by yourself in an empty studio. But I will say this much. It's a really unique thing with the leaderboard that when the lights go on, the camera goes on, and you actually see, you know, thousands of people, you see all their leaderboard names, you see them moving up and down depending on, you know, their metrics. You see their birthdays, if they're celebrating a 50th class or a 2000th class with you. And the connection is actually tangible. You can feel the energy, because if you believe in that, which I definitely do, when you're, even if you're, you know, 3,000 miles across the country and you're taking that live with me, there's something that is actually felt. So I don't have to conjure up fake energy. I have a ton to give away anyway. And I think it's definitely one of the magical things about Peloton instructors, myself included, is like being able to create and be responsible for the energy of the class, but it's also supported by every single member too. And then you also have social media, which is like the connecting the dots between the two, because people will show up sending you messages, sending you videos like, you know, my daughter and I have been taking your classes for the last 6 months. You don't understand how much you've changed our lives. Or, you know, there have been people that have completed their first marathon, or they just, you know, they lost their job and this has been their anchor. And the stories that you hear, honestly, are just like, every single time I read one, I'm like, I feel so honored that I'm in this role and being able to do that, and know that it's helping people on a daily basis. There's not too much more that you need to know to like feel inspired or motivated.
Yeah, as you talk about that, I can feel that energy. I can just imagine looking up at a leaderboard and seeing and knowing that all those people are there, right there with you, not in person. And you know, I feel that doing Zoom classes as well, or Zoom clinics. I mean, to me, it's not really any different, other than I don't get to reach out and touch them and put them in position. But there's certainly a real energy that is felt from that as well. And you mentioned a little bit of feedback that you got on that, and asking you this question, not in trying to set you up to try to sell Peloton or anything like that, just because I'm curious. You know, you mentioned a lady said that it's changing her and her daughter's life, but is there any other, you know, one or two pieces of major feedback that you guys get on this type of fitness program or this type of fitness method?
Yeah. So, I mean, recently I started teaching longer format strength classes. And historically, we've always taught anywhere between 5 and 30 minute strength classes, because people can stack them together. We have a lot, you know, if you have 30 minutes, you're going to take 30 minutes. If you only have 10, you're going to use 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we started offering 45-minute strength classes. I've been pushing it for a longer, you know, for a while. And I'm so glad that we finally had the ability to offer these right now, because what the goal is, and what I've been hearing as feedback, is the goal first, holistic approach to training. We're not rushing through sets. We're having, you know, more recovery time, more explanation and attention to detail. We're getting like a full training program like I would do on my own, instead of piecemealing things together and trying to rush through to get the most in such a short period of time, where you actually can teach people, okay, it's not always about emptying the gas tank in the workout. It's about what is the goal of today? How can we safely and effectively reach that goal without entirely like crushing ourselves during it? And then how often? So the conversation keeps going. And so the feedback from that has been, hey, I actually didn't realize that I could lift heavy, that I could actually do a push-up off of my knees. I had somebody reach out to me the other day, and they said they did 2 out of the 4 sets in a full plank push-up, which they had never done in their life before. Those little wins are actually enormous for, you know, for so many people. It's like this victory that you're experiencing, and you don't have to experience it on your own either. But knowing that those are happening in real time, or, you know, there's an outdoor run that I have that's just dropped, and it was a 45-minute run. For a lot of people, it's like 45 minutes is a long time for them to get outside, lace up, and go for a run. And I've never gotten as much feedback on this particular one um, throughout all of the the last 3 years that I've been at Peloton. And it was specifically because of the conversation that I was having with them, and having somebody in your ear speaking to your heart while you're doing something physically helps directly change your relationship that you have with your body and with the modality that you're doing it in. So the feedback that I've been getting from that has been, hey, I actually have always hated running and I haven't been able to run a mile. Today I ran 3 miles with you because I was so connected. Whatever I was talking about in the run, it was like, I painted the town yellow, or I painted the town red, or whatever it was. And knowing that people are actually opening their minds and getting curious to what they're physically capable of, and breaking patterns of the loops and stories that they've been telling themselves of, blowing the lid off the limit that they put over themselves, the limiting beliefs. I think those have been like the major takeaways.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting a better sense and idea of what this is all about, because I feel for myself, Dave, now I know how I can now I know how I can go run longer. I can just have Rebecca in my ear telling me stories, because I tell you, that's 44 minutes longer than I can typically go right there. You're talking about running 45 minutes. All I got is about a good minute in me. So maybe that's the answer.
Love it. I'm ready for you.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Well, yeah, running I don't think is in any of our wheelhouses, being gymnasts and weightlifters. But being in the CrossFit setting, it definitely has become a little bit more and more of what we can anticipate when it comes to workouts. But I'm curious what you do for training right now. You're coaching other people so much, you're writing programs. You seem to be having so many roles right now that we've noticed that can sometimes lead to less time for yourself, in terms of, I actually need to take care of my own training, let alone the millions of people that I'm trying to get better through Peloton. What kind of training, how often, and what are you doing for yourself right now when it comes to fitness?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you totally hit the nail on the head with, as opposed to everywhere else that I taught before this, we're doing the classes with you. And we're performing on top of cueing, on top of doing it ourselves. So I actually use all of the workouts that I do teaching live as my workouts. In addition, I'm also teaching classes that are not live, coach to camera, that will drop on demand later on. So I have a pretty stacked schedule, and I work out at Peloton 5 days a week. And so I support myself with first and foremost recovery tools. I see I'll call him a massage therapist. I would never qualify this as a massage. It's like a 2-hour body beat down. I also see my physical therapist, and I need my endurance up always, because talking, and whether you're strength training or you're running, endurance is super key, and I need it low impact so that I'm not like wasting a ton of energy, and like just really honoring my nervous system. So I get on the bike 1 or 2 times a week for, I'll roll out for 20-30 minutes on the bike. And then I love, honestly, peace of mind for same exact reason, low intensity, so a really slow run outside once a week, in addition to what I'm doing in Peloton. For me, that's where a lot of my aha moments come. It's also retraining my body when I get on the tread, not to go too fast out of the gate, because it can really happen when you're like dosed with adrenaline teaching. So I do occasionally I'll throw in a yoga, and I definitely stretch every day. Like I swear by my my Normatec and my Theragun, and I love like all the tools. I keep them with me. I roll out every single day. So it's more about upkeep and recovery outside. Once in a blue moon, I'll throw in, if I have an easier, like lighter week, like for example, this is a holiday week, so I'm actually going to be able to throw around some some weight, which I'm
Oh, I
really
thought you were gonna say handstands. Oh
handstand.
man, come
Yes.
on.
I'm gonna throw some handstands around and some weight, you know. Chad, I'm not gonna lie. I have a workout room in my house now for the very first time, and I have been looking for a rack that I can throw.
You should,
to
as you should. Yes.
to kick her feet up for handstand work, not for any barbell
Do
Mm.
some
exercise.
bar work, yeah.
No, she's already spent enough of her life being a gymnast. She can, she can grab the barbell a little bit more often, I think.
I do miss that though. I'm not gonna lie. I really miss. I used to be um, before the schedule was so robust. Without I had to stop because overtraining is a real thing in terms of like it feels like my workouts are all almost high intensity just based on the energy output. So I have to be super mindful about what I'm doing outside of it because I have learned lessons about overtraining too many times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned this wide range of support staff and this holistic approach to not training, not just kind of going 100% at all time, but having your recovery tools and having your massage therapist and one of the people that I think you work with pretty often that's also part of our Power Monkey team is Jamie Shear, Dr. Jamie Shear in New York. And I'm wondering about if you can mention a little bit about what you do with Jamie and kind of your relationship with her out in the city.
Yeah, of course. I love Jamie so much. She's actually now one of my best friends, and I met her several years ago before Peloton. I had my own company and I led this women empowerment event, and I asked her to be a speaker on it. And once I heard her speaking to, it was like music to my ears. Like the first time I jumped on the phone with her, it was supposed to be a 15-minute like, hey, how are you? I have an event. Would you be interested? Click. And we spoke for almost 2 hours. And her approach to nutrition and fitness and the relationship that you have with both of them struck me as a breath of fresh air. And I don't think there's too many people out there, or not enough people actually out there, talking about food in general and not just diets, but how you approach your relationship with it. So labeling things good versus bad. So she helped me. I mean, I'll be entirely honest right now. The reason I reached out to Jamie after that event to work with me personally was because I've always struggled with body image, and that was the inception of our working relationship. So I always was like reward deprived. So it was always like a deprivation, and I would wait all week, and then I would finally reward myself with food. So that creates a really toxic relationship with how you're eating, how you're fueling yourself. And it was never just about fueling. It was always about doing what I thought I had to do, and the shoulds and and not listening and eating intuitively. So that's what she taught me to do. I mean, we did a few tests which gave us a lot of information from like her naturopathy side. But then the other side of it, when she works with you, is a lot of talking, and it almost kind of feels like therapy in a way where you can actually talk through what is happening and then find different ways to go about it. And it's like it's a slow burn, right? So nothing changes directly overnight. So we ended up working together probably for a year, and then after a while it was just like became very much rooted in friendship. And I still hit her up every now and then to hear her thoughts on, like, for example, I'll have a lot of people reach out to me about the keto diet or intermittent fasting or vitamin C. Like, what are the and I'm not an RD or a nutritionist. I mean, I've taken nutrition courses and I have a ton of experience, but I don't like giving any information or advice that's not rooted in science from an actual like doctor or specialist. So I rely on her quite a bit for her plethora of information, and she's always a super calm soundboard. So she has the right information and the right advice for the right person. It feels like always. And she is, if you just look at the way she treats her own body and her own life and how she goes about it, it's actually really admirable. So I think that's one of the reasons I like to work with her. For a very big reason why I like to work with her.
Sure. I mean, I think she's amazing. And her and her husband, Isaiah, are a big part of our team here with Power Monkey. And we think the world of them. And I know that you had been closely connected with her specifically. And also at Power Monkey Camp, that you guys connected at Power Monkey Camp. And you've been out to our Power Monkey Camp before twice. Is that correct? Yes. You've come out twice to Power Monkey Camp. With Power Monkey Camp specifically, what was your experience, and what were some of the things that were kind of take-home tools or things that you were able to bring back and say, this was worth going for?
Is it weird to say everything? Oh my gosh. Okay, so for my first year experience, I felt like a kid in a candy store. It was like adult fitness camp. I went to gymnastics camp like you did every summer.
Oh yeah.
And as an adult, it's the weirdest thing where you're like, leave high school or leave college, whatever, when those things end and adult life begins essentially. And you're like, all the things that you love so much, the play, the camaraderie, like the things that gave you spirit and life and gusto, like it just doesn't exist really anymore. And you guys captured that spirit. And it was like, such a unique community, and everyone was I thought I was going to be, okay, this will sound really silly. I went alone and I thought that I was going to be an outcast. I thought I was going to like not make friends. And I was so nervous. I was like, everyone's going to be, they'll know each other and there's going to be like cliques. And I had this in my head. And of course you get in there and you get in your bunks and everyone's like, hi. And I made like 10 friends immediately. I'm like, this is really cool. And then being in your group, you get to know everyone on an even, more intimate level. I think the things that I absolutely loved the most was the educational pieces. I'm like such a junkie for education. And, you have done an incredible job. It's just like crazy to see that every single coach or leader in those stations, and then having the workshops and seminars and discussions in the evenings, they're the best in the world at what they do. And they're so disarming and they want to be there to help. So whether you have 100 questions or, you need someone to spot you or give you feedback on something or break it down from like, I had never been on the barbell before I went to Power Monkey Camp that first time. And it was humbling and I was so nervous, but I felt like a total badass and empowered. And all I wanted to do when I got home was get on the bar every single day. I was like, it was so much fun. It brought me back to my gymnastics roots. It taught me a lot more about CrossFit, which I honestly, I've done a little bit, but like I had never actually joined a box or anything like that. So I could appreciate it from a community aspect. And I really enjoyed trying something new. Every day I learned something new, or I learned a new approach to things that I had already been doing. It kicked my butt. I was so sore for like the first 2 days. And then I learned how to like, peel it back a little bit. But honestly, it was like the most fun in 6 days that I had in a very, very long time. And it was done. I like actually got really sad. I journaled every single day. I wanted to keep all my memories about it. And I was like, I need to go back. ASAP. I needed to shout it from the top of the mountains, tell everybody about it. I probably told so many people, they were like, shut up. But I can't recommend it enough. If you guys had it more than, twice a year, and I would go as often as possible.
Well, I appreciate that. And, I'm sure Chad does as well. And we love having you out. I love seeing people who are at the top of their field, go and experience something as a beginner. And I think that's such a huge tool in continuing to learn, especially as you start to reach levels within your own respective fields where you're considered an expert. There's always room to continue to learn. There's always a benefit. And one of the things you mentioned there is, I learned new ways to approach something I'm already good at, or I learned maybe a new technique or a new thought process or a new way to express it. And as an instructor or an expert, those tools are hugely helpful. And I've noticed it for myself too, working with Chad and working with the other coaches that we have at camp, just to be able to expose yourself to even the things that you think that you're good at, to be able to learn from someone else, just to be able to kind of revise the way that you maybe connect or the way that you are able to disseminate the information can be so, so helpful. So I appreciate that comment so much about saying, hey, you know what, even the things that I teach right now or that I'm very, very good at, I would still be able to pick up something new or just a little bit of a change that, help me maybe reinforce the way that I can disseminate to somebody else.
I'm not going to lie, working with Hinshaw on the assault runner and hearing him talk through that whole entire seminar about fatigue clearing and how to build different work rest ratios and intensities, like these are things that I actually still use to this day. And so the direct application was immediate for me, but it was also like so illuminating. It was information that I had heard about before. I had read all about it, but actually learning as a student, physically doing it and going through it, you get such a different experience. So I appreciated that. And actually the VO2 station with XFit Lab, Jamie and Isaiah, we ended up bringing them into Peloton to help us, basically every Peloton instructor went through VO2 training. We went through heart rate zone training. We developed like all of our lines of programming from their education. And it was a huge, huge opportunity for us to, which I'm grateful for, like knowing that even existed because of PowerMonkey, that we could even bring in the best people to facilitate something that, now the world gets to enjoy, right?
Love hearing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, always love to hear that for sure. And I have a follow-up question about PowerMonkey Camp, and maybe it's kind of the same. Hopefully I can word it in a way where we can get something a little bit different out of it. But I know a lot about coaching and teaching with other worlds out there. So not just weightlifting, but what CrossFit has done. It's brought us all together. Unfortunately, I have to talk to Dave and work with him. No, I've
miserable
learned
experience.
yeah, right. No, I've learned a tremendous amount from him and all the other coaches at PowerMonkey Camp, and I'm a better coach for it. I'm a better teacher because I'm able to draw from how they teach, how they speak, and also the movement that they teach as well. But I've not ever been to any other certifications type of things, right? So I'm very curious to hear from your perspective, because you have done other certifications. If you could compare what we do at PowerMonkey Camp, and not to say that PowerMonkey Camp or what we do at PowerMonkey Camp is better or worse. If it's worse, please tell me, because I think we'll be motivated to make a change there, but not necessarily this is better or worse. But can you do some comparing to other certifications that you've been to versus PowerMonkey Camp?
Yeah, I think that first, the main difference is that you guys give yourself enough time to be able to let people get fully absorbed into the topic or like the station that they're in, right? So it's like, you're not rushing through anything and trying to drink from a fire hydrant. You're actually giving them enough time to, listen, people learn in so many different ways, right? So when we're talking about it, it's like, tactical, whether you're audible or visual, like there's so many different types of learning. And in my experience at other certifications, it's usually you're being spoken to or spoken at. There's sometimes an occasional like Q&A, or you could raise your hand and ask a couple of questions, but you're rarely doing what you're talking about. And so the application of things is a critical piece, and it's usually missing. And there's not necessarily enough time to say, hey, actually, anytime you're going to a certification, you might be dealing with someone who's teaching special populations, who's teaching group fitness, who's personal training, who's working with athletes, who's, you know, so many different walks of life. And to be able to answer all of those questions and be a generalist in the certification, you can't really do both. So I feel like I typically leave a lot of certifications with a list of questions that go unanswered.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in PowerMonkey, I felt like, you know, you're there for so many days, you can revisit, the coaches are available in open gym, they're available at night, you can have one-off conversations. And the conversations are, I mean, you guys are so good about this, is like connecting everybody. So even after camp ends, you still have access to, you know, to all the coaches to be able to pick their brains or run something by them or continue working with them, you know, even. So I think you guys do a bang up job there of really making it tailored to what the, you know, the camp goer or the person coming into, whether they're an instructor or a trainer or just an athlete themselves, you know. So another thing in terms of like certification is the way that information is disseminated. So when it comes to certain certifications, it's usually about the bottom line and the dollar and how many heads you can get in a room. And this is the only way. So now that we have this new certification, you know, you have to forget everything else that you were doing before, because this is the new way and this is the right way. Whereas, sorry, one, Sunny, no barking, please. Whereas at PowerMonkey, you guys have, like, even, I mean, I'll look at both of you right now. You have gymnastics, you have, you know, Oli, you have CrossFit, you have aerobic capacity, you have so many different styles of training, and they're not cannibalizing each other. They support one another. So it's not saying, you know, this is the only way and this is the right way. And I appreciate that, because as a trainer, I feel like my biggest strength is my curiosity, and I never put the cap on like, I'm done learning. I know everything I need to know, because that is an entirely huge disservice to any member or client that comes my way in the future. And you guys think that way too. So it's like, we want to continue opening up the lines of communication for new information and support one another throughout that. So I appreciate that in a major way.
Yeah, always great to hear. I mean, I get to the point to where I just think I'm becoming too biased, because I think PowerMonkey Camp is incredible, you know, so it's good to hear that we're doing a good job there. But while we're on this topic, if there's one thing we can do better from your perspective, what would that be?
Ooh. Well, this will be selfish because, you know, it's bringing in something that would be like almost more applicable to a generalist. So if you're not in CrossFit, if you're not a former gymnast, it could somehow feel intimidating.
Right.
So perhaps like adding in, I don't want to use the word entry point, but maybe it is that word. Maybe it's a different entry point for more people to come and enjoy, because what you guys have to offer is so incredible. And I think if there was even just one more lane that you could step into, which is, you know, it is strength training across the board, but perhaps in a more mainstream way.
Right.
Somebody to help connect some of the dots, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Do it more often.
Yeah, I think I'd live out there. I mean, you know, if that was possible, just to move everybody out there, right, Dave, and us all live there all the time, that would probably
Yeah, we went out for a full month earlier in the year before our fall camp, because, you know, the fires out here in Oregon, and we were getting, you know, the air was getting so bad. We're like, you know, told BJ and Osh, who were based out there at camp, we're like, we're coming early, we're bringing everybody. Wow. So me and the girls went out about 3 weeks early before camp, and just hung out for a month. It's a pretty magical place, and you know, the people that own it and run it are such close family members to us that it's basically like leaving home and going home. So we love going out there, and I wish we could host it more. Hopefully we get more people interested in wanting to come out. But, you know, we had 20 people at the last camp and we had 40 coaches. So it was like,
It was
you know,
amazing.
for them, it was incredible. It was like, you know, I'm not going to tell anybody else that this thing exists because, you know, we don't want to ruin it. But we were able to do an online camp that we're going to be unveiling in the next couple of weeks. So there's going to be an online digital version of everything, film all the stations, and there'll be tests and everything. So it'll be kind of our new iteration of offering. So there'll be a way to access Power Monkey Camp digitally very soon. Yeah, very soon.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be thinking on that lane too that you talked about. I think that's a very interesting angle. No one's ever really put it that way. And it is kind of hard to put into words. What would that be and what would that look like, you know? So I appreciate that feedback. And perhaps the Power Monkey Camp online could be somewhat of a less intimidating initiation to someone.
I hope so. Yeah.
Now, Rebecca, you know, on a different topic, bringing something back up that you mentioned earlier, I wanted to bring back up body image. You said you had body image issues. And the reason why is because I know a lot of people struggle with that. That's something that I struggled with growing up, being born with a club foot and having a deformity. And I think it's important to talk about that a little bit anytime someone mentions that. And especially if anyone looks at you, if anyone sees you, they might not think that you ever had any issues like that. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? So I wonder, you worked with Jamie on that. Do you feel like you personally have that under control at this point, or is it something that you still continue to have to work on?
No, it's definitely, I feel free from it, which is absolutely wonderful. And I'm finally at a place where talking about it is something that I want to do, because having that revelatory moment where you're actually like breaking the cycle of those really terrible, like, thoughts on loop. It's just, you know, it was the same feeling that I had when I left Power Monkey. I want to shout it from the top of the mountains and you know, share my experience, because I think that's honestly, getting things out, normalizing the conversation, is really important, and changing how we talk about compliments and how we talk to people about their bodies. Anytime that it's not, that you're not asked and you give your unsolicited advice or opinion, it's not wanted. So, for example, like, I've had people say to me, wow, you know, you've lost so much weight, or you look so toned. What are you doing differently? And if you had said that to me, you know, 2 years ago, I would have had this like breakdown in my head silently. That's like, well, what did I look like before? You know, was I too big? You wouldn't have liked me then. Like, you know, how does that affect my job? Am I not enough? That's always the, you know, the word thing that comes up. But now I feel like I've gotten finally to a place where I actually respect and honor my body, and the way I train, the way I eat, the way I talk to myself. The internal conversation is super important, because that's where, you know, we can create different, like, stress hormones if we're constantly having that negative self-talk, versus a healing place inside of us. So Jamie definitely pointed it out, and it was about almost shaking hands with myself and making an agreement that external validation is never what's going to actually make you feel good about yourself, or also it doesn't need to make you feel bad about yourself. The validation and the value itself comes from within. And it has taken me quite a long time to actually agree to those terms with myself. And I did it obviously with Jamie as my naturopath, and starting from the physical, starting from the food and the working out, and not just killing myself in the gym and calories out and calories in and counting macros and all of that. Like, sure, we could do it and we did it, but weaning myself off of that and finally being free from it, where I don't follow anything now. I listen to my body and I have this intuition where I'm like, I know how to
make good choices, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally. So, but it is deeply rooted. And I think a lot of us that have body image issues start when you're really young, and they continue to suffer and to present themselves throughout your entire adult life until you actually can name it and then work through it. But society doesn't help at large on this topic quite often, because we still standardize beauty and we still push certain aesthetics and weight loss, and it's still a huge financial monster out there with like diet teas and any sort of like program, you name it. It's like people are still capitalizing off of that. So it takes a really strong individual to like do the work on their own and continue to have that conversation and then set boundaries for themselves with the people in their lives.
Yeah, I think a lot of this too is understanding that there's a grieving process involved in it as well, and I think people get stuck at certain steps, right? Or they're skipping that grieving process, and you never get to the point of that acceptance or that freedom that you mentioned that you now have if you don't take those certain basic steps. And without getting too much into that, two questions. One, for someone out there listening that does have body image issues, and maybe they don't even realize they do, right? But if they have that realization, they know that they struggle with that. What is one step that they can take to head towards that acceptance? And then also for coaches out there, what is one step they can take to be more aware of maybe some of the things that they're saying to their clients to make sure that they're not feeding to those negative feelings and emotions that those individuals have?
Yeah, I'll start with the coaches, because I was guilty of this for many years. When I was suffering from my own, I would project it onto other people. And it was actually widely accepted as a way to encourage people. So if it was like, if you wanted to like get your abs ripped because bikini season's coming up and no one wants to wear a t-shirt at the beach, like these are shaming in a way where you're kind of skirting it and you're not pointing it out like you're this and you're that, but you're saying harmful things, and it's projection through fear and shame. And I think that we should all be mindful about the impact of our words, because it's never the intention, it's always the perception. So how it's perceived, right, is really important. So I think if people just took a step and ask themselves, why am I saying this? What's the impact going to be? And is it necessary? Or is there a better way that I can approach inspiration versus with like the militaristic, like you don't have to come down on people hard. You can be loving and kind and encourage people and get the same result. And sometimes, most times, it's usually better. And the advice that I would give to somebody that is struggling with body image issues, whether they might not know it or if they do, would be to start getting curious as to where your worth comes from. And if you were broken when you were born, which you were not, that means you can't be broken now. So to remember that you are whole and that you are enough. And if you repeat these and stop the conversation, that wheel on loop that, other people have the right to tell you if you're too big, too small, too loud, too quiet, too much, not enough, like it can't come from outside. You determine whether or not you are all of those things. And the truth of the matter is that you are enough. And I think it's important for anybody, not just anyone dealing with body image issues, but knowing that how you are right now is totally perfect. And if you want to change things and change your relationship with food or training or sleep or whatever it is, you can do those things, but it comes from a place of love, not from fear.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, you know, you're worth making those changes, right? We've got to, you have to have a base understanding of all those things first. And I think for me as a coach, one of the things that I have to remind myself about is that, you know, the people that you're in front of, you don't know their stories. You never know, especially you're meeting them for the first time. You never know what they're going through right now. So it's like you got to think about that and be careful what you say and all that stuff. And that takes time. You know, if you're a teacher or a coach, it's not easy to just say, okay, I'm going to be more aware of what I say. That takes work, takes time.
Oh, it really does. Yeah. Having a sense of awareness is like, it's not an overnight thing, but you're totally right. I mean, even just the simple thing, like if you walked into the gym and told one of your clients like, hey, you look great. It seems so harmless and it seems like a, you know, a nice compliment, but it can be taken in so many ways depending on that person. And not necessarily a safer thing, but another way to compliment somebody would be on, you know, how they show up. So it's like they're something that they did, whether it's like from their intelligence or their humor or their heart or what they did, like maybe they, you know, they got their first muscle up, like you did an amazing job today, you know, or thanks for always being such a great team leader, or you know what, I love your energy today. I really appreciate you bringing it, you know, uplifting the whole team. Those are other ways to compliment people that have nothing to do with their body, unless they say, hey, Chad, I lost 10 pounds. How do I look? And you can say, oh, you know, obviously you can speak to it then because it's, you know, it's offered.
Right. Well, I'll never compliment somebody on their gymnastics, but I get what you're saying. Yes.
Well, I think that one of the things that's really important about all of this is similar to how we teach movement. It's about small incremental steps. It's not about these gigantic leaps and bounds that I think people expect, where they say, I'm going to go on a diet for a month and my whole life is going to change, or I'm going to work on handstands for 30 days and I'm going to have a perfect handstand. These things, all of these things take time, and they take a commitment on a daily basis to make one small incremental change for the better and say, I'm going to be this much better than I was yesterday when it comes to this. And over time, I think people will surprise themselves at how those small incremental changes snowball into something significant over time. Yeah. That's one of the things that I've noticed, whether it's a body image thing or whether it's a weight issue or whether it's a learning how to snatch correctly. All of these things need to be understood that there's no magic pill. There's nothing that's going to be kind of the cure-all when it comes to this. It's about time, effort, what you really want to prioritize, and understanding that it's a long journey and not kind of a quick fix.
I could not agree more.
Yeah. So I love this conversation. I think we could actually just continue talking about this, but we're coming towards the end of our time together, Rebecca. And we always finish with a few questions if you're up for it.
Can we just skip the first one?
No, this is the most important question we have on the agenda for the day. So an easy one, I think we know where we're going, but what sport or discipline do you prefer, weightlifting or gymnastics?
I'm sorry, Chad. I gotta give it up to my room. Gymnastics takes this one.
And
I know that.
I was expecting it, right? I was expecting it, and at this point, Chad, I just feel bad for you. I feel bad.
I mean, you should feel bad for.
We might need to stop the question.
Be careful what you say. We don't want Rebecca to feel bad about her answer here, you know. But I am very far behind. But you know, it just makes me wonder in my head, how many Power Monkey camps would it take to change your mind from gymnastics to weightlifting, or is that even possible? I'm curious as well. I'm very curious.
It depends on how good I got at it, because I think my philosophy is you love anything that you're good at. So honestly, I do have a soft spot for it. So the opportunity exists, Chad. Let's find out.
All right. We need to get back at the next camp.
I'll take it. That's good.
Question 2. Is there any guests that you would like to see us have on the podcast? Anybody that kind of sticks out and says they would be a great guest for the Power Monkey podcast?
John Johnson.
Ooh, Sean. Okay. All right. All
Love
right.
her story. I love her story, and I want to hear her talk about it more.
Okay. Absolutely. We can reach out. Sean lives in Nashville now. She's not too far away from camp, and she's
Woo!
very close with all of our Power Monkey camp crew out there. So we can probably get Sean on.
That'd be cool to get her in person, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we could do it in the next camp too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
If we're not all quarantining still at that
Right.
point. I
Right.
shouldn't even say that, right? Knock on wood. But all right, last few questions here, Rebecca. What do you prefer, reading a book, watching a movie, a documentary, or a TV series?
I am a book junkie.
Okay.
I have like 30 books right now that I'm halfway into all of them.
Awesome. Do you have one that you would specifically recommend to the listeners?
Untamed. It's by
Untamed.
Glennon Doyle. Yeah. It is absolutely phenomenal, regardless of how you identify gender wise. It is a story about living from your wild nature and breaking through societal norms and how it actually reflects in your life on a daily basis. It is super powerful, easy read, and super fun.
Awesome. Sounds interesting. And we'll have to add that to the list. I'm telling you, Dave, we got to get that list going.
I know,
The
man. I'm
website is
trying.
getting way too long. Well, it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure talking to you, and certainly hope to talk to you again in the future and see you at Power Monkey Camp. Do you have any parting words or anything you got coming up you want the listeners to know about?
Yeah, you guys can follow me at RK Solid NYC or join me on the Peloton app. I would love to train with all of you and keep this conversation going. I think these are really critical questions that and topics that we were talking about today. So just want to say thanks for tuning in and listening. And if you have any questions, hit us up.
Awesome. And yeah, be sure to do that, guys. And also be sure to head over at powermonkeyfitness.com for services and upcoming events. And actually, Dave, you want to give any updates? It's been a while since you've spoken on that. You talked a little bit earlier about the online Power
Yeah,
Monkey Camp.
absolutely. Black Friday is coming up, and we are in the process of unveiling our Power Monkey Camp online. It's going to be ready for pre-sale in the next couple of days. We've been working our asses off on it. It's going to be an amazing product. If you haven't been to Power Monkey Camp, this can be a first step in the direction of actually meeting us in person. It's an amazing way to experience camp in a new way. There's tests involved. You get certification with NASM F and CrossFit through it. Everything that you experience at camp, we've filmed and edited and given to you a nice little package. So check that out coming on the Power Monkey website in the next couple of days.
Yeah, and this will probably come out after Black Friday, so they can still see it there and all good to go after that as well, right, Dave?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys. And also, as always, check out our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content at Power Monkey Fitness, at Dave Durante, and at Ollie Chad. And on behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, we're your host. I'm Chad Vaughn with Dave Durante. Until next time, guys, thank you all for listening.